Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the kitchen table. My goodness me. Well, what a day it's been, hasn't it? In terms of news, driver news in particular, in this year's World Rally Championship. All expected, I'd have to say, and it was nicely coordinated, wasn't it? We had the news first that Meeke, or the confirmation we knew from last week, David Evans. I can't talk highly enough about David Evans. What a journalist he is. A week ago, breaking the news that Meeke had secured a deal at Toyota. The confirmation today that Meeke is there. The confirmation also from Toyota that we have that super team next year. Wow. Clearly Tanak will be, well, if not officially number one, he will be, I'm absolutely certain, their main driver next year. You've got Meeke, you've got Latvala. What a team. What a team. And again, we talked about it last week. Is there a balance in that team? Probably not. But who am I to question Tommi Mäkinen? Because everything that Mäkinen touches right now turns to gold. It really is quite remarkable what he's doing at that Toyota team. He's got 3 winners there, 3 outright winners, 3 drivers capable of winning the World Rally Championship next year. How will they work together? That is the big question. It's interesting because I think both Latvala and Meeke have 1-year deals. There's a real potential for Latvala and Meeke to extend that. I don't think both of them will get the extension. So it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? What are they going to do? Are they going to sit and play the team game this year? Are they going to prove their worth to Mr. Mäkinen? This is both Latvala and Meeke, and push for wins. I don't know. It's a really, really interesting dynamic. So we had that news this morning, which is great news. We also had, almost simultaneously, the news that Lappi is off to Citroen. Again, very, very well flagged in terms of the gossip around the service park. We knew he was going a long time ago. Do you know what? Colin McMaster, one of the greatest photographers that we've had over the years and still have, we're still lucky to have in the World Rally Championship. He put something out, I think, on Twitter this morning, and he said, good to see that Citroen are back and meaning business in 2019. And that's absolutely right, they do mean business. They've got Ogier there, who will be as fired up as ever. Make no mistake, Ogier will be fired up. Whether he wins the championship this year or not, Ogier will be fired up to be back at Citroen next year. With Lappi, now, do you know what? I find the Lappi situation interesting. For me, he has got massive speed, massive potential, huge amounts of likability and honesty. He's a real asset to any team. Why? Why has he left Toyota? Well, we don't really know. But the talk is that perhaps Esa-Pekka and Tommi didn't get on that well. It's a real shame. It's a real, real shame because we're all expecting the boy wonder, the prodigal son, Kalle Rovanperä, to go to Toyota in 2020. What a team potentially that could have been. It would be a team for the future, a team that could dominate rallying for many, many years. Ott Tanak as number 1, Esa-Pekka Lappi as number 2, and Rovanperä as number 3. Jeez, crumbs, that's an exciting prospect. Or it was an exciting prospect. It is no longer an exciting prospect. For whatever reason, that hasn't happened. I still firmly believe Rovanperä will go to Toyota in 2020, but Lappi has gone to Citroen. I think Lappi can be world champion at Citroen, I really do. I really think he can be world champion there. He has all of the attributes necessary to be world champion. He needs to grow, he needs to improve, and he needs to continue to improve. You'd have to say that maybe since that win in Finland, which was the best part of 16 months ago now, backward steps, that's a little harsh. He's learned. Cut out the mistakes. He's had some great podiums, and what a podium it was on the last event that we went to, on GB. And at times he has shown blistering speed, just blistering speed. And that's what you look for in a young driver. You want to know that the speed is there. Tanak, similar example. We always knew the speed was there. The consistency was lacking. When he found the consistency and the consistent speed, well, he looks unbeatable in the right car, Tanak, doesn't he? And I think that's kind of where we're going with Lappi. Lappi will have a year to learn from the master, from the 5 times, maybe 6 times World Rally champion. The only disappointing thing at Citroen, Well, it looks as if it might be a two-car team. I'm not sure about that. I'm really not sure. I think the door is open for someone to bring some cash. Now, could well be that Mads Osberg. I haven't talked an awful lot, sadly, about Mads at the kitchen table because I'm struggling to work out where Mads fits in. I think Mads for next year might be the one that, if he wants to be a regular player in the World Rally Championship, might have to come with some sponsors' money. It's a sad thing because Osberg is such a talented driver and would make a fabulous number 3 at Citroen, a regular number 3 there to score you the points. Fantastic. Similarly, he could do a job, I'm sure, at Hyundai. Could he be a number 1 driver at M Sport? Well, only if he brings the cash, I suspect. It's a sad situation. Who else could go there? Well, Breen could stay, maybe. I don't think so. I don't think his career at Citroen. Listen, it was Citroen. Much as I love the guys at Citroen, I have an enormous amount of respect, in particular, for what Mr. Boudard is doing there. Occasionally, they put out some rather terse press releases, and in particular, I'll refer you back to the Chris Meeke press release. But the press release announcing Lappi, you could read it two ways, and for me, it is positive, positive, positive. But it was slightly, if you wanted to read it that way, slightly damning of the current lineup, basically saying next year we will have a team capable of competing, a team capable of winning. More or less saying this year they don't, which is, I think, maybe honesty in the extreme. Maybe, who knows? So, in terms of this year's lineup at Citroen, where does Breen go? He may find himself there next year, but again, I suspect he might have to find some budget, and Breen really isn't at a point in his career where he wants to find budget or wants to pay for a drive. He, as a minimum, will be looking for a free drive next year. He certainly won't be looking to contribute. So where might Breen end up? Well, we've talked about Toyota. They are settled. They're the only team that we know are settled. Citroen, well, yeah, they kind of are settled, but we don't know the situation yet with Sheikh Khalid. We don't know the situation with potentially a third car running as a paper drive type setup. But they're reasonably settled. Then we go on again to Hyundai. Well, Breen could find himself there. I mentioned this at the last kitchen table. And a lot of people saying, well, what about Evans? Why don't you mention Evans in the same way that you talk about Breen? Well, I'll tell you why. Nothing against Elvin, who I have an awful lot of time and respect for, and I firmly believe still has the potential to make it. But 4 years in a World Rally car, as opposed to Breen, who has not yet had a full season in a World Rally car. That is why I still see Craig Breen with the potential to do a job in a World Rally team. Elvin Evans has the potential as well, but given a choice, I would take Breen first. Personal choice, that is all. That is all, folks. Don't come down too hard on me, please. Please. Well, you can if you like. Quite thick-skinned, really. Very thick-skinned, actually. So, yeah, Breen, well, he might find himself at Hyundai. Hyundai is the most interesting one for me because an awful lot of talk, particularly last weekend in Raglan, my favourite place in the world. Some wonderful pictures coming out of the Whonga Coast stage in New Zealand, and the beautiful village, town, whatever you want to call it, of Raglan. One of my favourite hotels, the Harbour View Hotel, in Raglan. And as you look at that hotel from the front, there's a cafe on the corner. My favourite cafe. Oh, jeez. Do you know what? I'm going back next year. More about that to come. But where were we? Hyundai. I was reminiscing. I got lost there, didn't I? Lost in my thoughts of glorious New Zealand and glorious Raglan. Hyundai, yeah. Hayden Paddon, a lot of talk around the service park. He changed last minute his co-driver on the Raglan Rally. Now, it's not a new co-driver to Hayden Paddon. Malcolm Reed stepped in at the very last minute. I think John Kennard was due to co-drive on the Raglan Rally. Malcolm Reed was lined up initially to replace John Kennard 2 or 3 years ago, and he did a number of tests with Hayden. He also came to Europe, had a look at a number of events, but it didn't work out. And as we know, Seb Marshall ultimately got that seat when John Kennard retired. But, big talk about Seb Marshall. Back to the Hyundai, not the Hyundai, the Toyota announcement this morning. Is Seb Marshall on his way to sit next to Chris Meeke at Toyota? Well, possibly, really possibly. Strong rumours that he's been approached by Chris Meeke, and he is Chris Meeke's number one choice. Now, there's a lot to talk about, isn't there? let's talk about, first of all, the Chris Meeke-Paul Nagle situation. That was an amicable split and understandable, and it is no reflection whatsoever on the co-driving capabilities of Paul Nagle, who is one of the very best co-drivers in the world. 5 times winner, did a remarkable job guiding Chris Meeke to an IRC title and to 5 wins in the World Rally Championship. But, do you know, in some ways, when things started going wrong at Citroen 12 months ago or so, I was a little surprised that Chris didn't change co-driver then, because that's what happens. That's how it works. You know, drivers never want to blame themselves, rightly. They can't be seen to blame the team. They certainly can't change car. They can't change the team. What element can they change? They can change the co-driver. So I think that's what's happened here. It's a new start. It's a new opportunity. It is part of the glorious resurrection of Chris Meeke, and he wants to try things different. Now, we've seen it before. You know, Meeke and Latvala are a winning formula, no mistake about that. And Chris Meeke, being the very driven and very single-minded character that he is, he does make decisions for himself, and he has decided in the past that maybe Paul wasn't the right guy. He's then gone back to him. Could that happen again? Absolutely. Absolutely. It could happen again. So the name's in the mix, as I understand it, very much Seb Marshall, and that is fueled by Hayden Paddon and his change of co-driver. It looks as if Paddon is perhaps looking at Reed again for next year. Why would he be? Well, maybe because Seb is off. The other co-drivers in the mix, quite clearly, Dan Barrett. What's the advantage of Dan Barrett? Well, he's an excellent co-driver. Massive experience in the WRC. Massive. You know, it's hard to believe because he still looks so young, but I think it's almost 20 years of experience that Dan Barrett's got in the WRC. The other huge advantage with Barrett, his weight. And let me tell you, with 3 very, very evenly matched drivers at Toyota, those extra 10, 15, 16, 17 kilos that you'll save by going with someone like Dan Barrett could make all the difference. He's in the mix. And for sure, if Elvin Evans' future is in doubt, that is something that Dan Barrett will consider. Now, the other name I heard mentioned was our Belgian friend, Belgian co-driver, used to sit next to Chris Atkinson, and his name has just eluded me. As you can tell, I do these kitchen tables with no notes. I do think about them a little bit, but without notes. Stefan Prevost is the name that's in the mix. Now, again, you might think, oh, wow, Stefan Prevost, he's a journeyman. Well, he is a journeyman with enormous experience and a degree of success. The other one I would throw into the mix, and it's one that's not being talked about. The other 3 are most definitely being talked about and possibly being talked to by Chris Meeke and Toyota. The other one that I would throw into the mix there is Ilka Minor. And I am very surprised that more drivers haven't talked about potentially taking on the services of Ilka, because she is a magnificent co-driver and again enormously experienced and supremely fit. And again, you have to look at the weight issue. She weighs next to nothing. So there are 4 co-drivers that I think we will see in the mix for the seat with Chris Meeke. For me, it's Seb Marshall. That's the one that seems to be highest on the list, but any of the other 3 could quite easily take that seat. So let's go back then. Hayden Paddon. So he's going to have to find a new co-driver for next year. What are his options? I fear for Paddon. I genuinely fear for Paddon. I don't know where he's going. A couple of weeks ago, I'd have said almost certainly staying at Hyundai, sharing the seat with Sordo. I'm not so convinced by that now. I think we will see a reaction from Hyundai to the news that Toyota have put this super team together. And, you know, I feel for Paddon. I really do. You know, can he go to M Sport? Of course he can go to M Sport, and he would be a decent addition. My understanding, that is not Malcolm's preferred choice. So Paddon, for me, at best, will end up with a shared drive with Sordo. No change at Hyundai. But I'm not entirely convinced, sadly, that will happen. Let's keep our fingers crossed it does, because Paddon, we all know, is supremely quick and talented and brave in a rally car, and we'd love to see him out there. I think Sordo's guaranteed, by the way. I don't really think we need to talk much about Danny Sordo again, because he's having a great season, loving his rallying at the moment and driving extremely well. So that is Sordo, and that is the situation with Paddon. Now, the other things that we wanted to discuss, M Sport. Let's discuss. Me, innit? We don't discuss. No one next to me, no one there, it's me. So the other things that I want to pontificate about, M Sport. Listen, Malcolm will wait before he makes an announcement. Malcolm is in an interesting situation. The funding is not there, that's quite clear. He will be looking, I'm sure, for drivers who can contribute. Timo Sunonen is already guaranteed. Who might sit there? Well, for sure he's got the option of Breen. What does Breen bring? If you're going to put one driver into your car and give him a free drive, of the remaining drivers, Padden, potentially, Breen, potentially, Elvin Evans, potentially, Mads Osberg, potentially. Who would you give it to? Well, I'd have to say again, and I'm going to be slapped around the chops for this, because I suppose I sound a bit like a fanboy, and I'm not, although I try to keep things as unbiased as I can. But for me, the man who I would offer a free seat to, because what you've got to look at is, if you're offering a free seat, you want someone that potentially can bring something back. What could, say, Breen bring back to Malcolm Wilson? Well, potentially he opens up sales opportunities in Southern Ireland. And as we know, when there's money in Southern Ireland, they are the biggest buyers of World Rally cars, of any market, anywhere in the world. Now, could Breen potentially do something in that regard for Malcolm Wilson? Well, if you're going to give a free seat away, the potential to sell a few World Rally cars that might come along with that would be attractive. No question about that. But is he going to give a free seat? I'm not also convinced by that. It's a tough one. It really is a tough one. Elvin Evans, I think, said it already, he's got to do something enormous in the next two events. Really enormous. It's got to be absolutely all or nothing for Elvin to persuade Malcolm, after 4 years of full-time with a gap, but 4 years, 4 full seasons in World Rally cars, that he's worth another enormous investment. And don't beat around the bush with this. It is a huge investment from Malcolm in a World Rally season, a campaign for one driver. He's got to get something back. For sure, Malcolm has to get something back, and whether that's wins, challenges, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. It is an interesting situation, and one that I feel we won't really get a resolution to for quite some time. The next, I think, announcement will be Hyundai. They will tell us what their lineup is, I think, in the next week, 10 days. Maybe. I got it wrong last time, but listen, we're getting very close to Spain. I don't expect anything in the week of Rally Spain, perhaps the week after Rally Spain, till the next announcement about Hyundai, and then Malcolm can sit and wait and see what's there in terms of drivers, see what's there potentially in terms of funding for his team, drivers that can bring sponsors, drivers that can bring budget with them. It's fascinating, isn't it? Still fascinating. It's been an interesting day. So a couple of other things, as you can tell, big thank you to Ian Campbell, Clarkley Course, Wales Rally GB. He gave me this. It's lovely, isn't it? I've got 3 of these now, the last 3 editions of the Wales Rally GB hoodies, and I do like this one, the zipper one. And the other thing, I'm much as I love the Oregon Trail Rally, and it is without any question one of my favourite rallies in the world, do you know what? I like a bit of variety. So I've had an idea. If you have a rally, if you're involved in organising a rally, or if you're a driver, a co-driver, and you have a mug that represents your driver, co-driver, represents your rally, and you would like me to feature it, I'm going to give a bit back. Then send me the mug, or send me your details, and I'll tell you where to send the mug to, and the mug can feature at my kitchen table. So not just my mug, but your mug. I'm a generous boy, aren't I? Took a lot of thinking about that, did. Creative genius, I call it. Now, one final thing, I know we've been talking a little bit long here, one final thing, the calendar. Great that we got the calendar out. Huge disappointment that Japan isn't there, and I feel for Mr. Ciesla and the promoter, because I know that he put an enormous amount of effort into trying to organise Rally Japan, as in their slot on the calendar, and it's not worked. It's not worked for political reasons, and I feel for him, because what Mr. Ciesla's trying to do, he's trying to put a balanced calendar together that is a representation of the World Rally Championship. But more than that, he's looking at rallies that want to invest in their product. They want to invest in their rallies. They want to invest in the World Rally Championship. And you don't have to look too far to see evidence of that. Turkey, a great addition. Chile, I think, is going to be a magnificent addition. But for whatever reason, we're going to France twice next year. I think that's such an unfortunate thing, and a waste of a real real opportunity. The Japanese love their rallying with Toyota there, with the potential for Mitsubishi, for Subaru, for Suzuki, for Nissan, for Honda, all of those manufacturers to have a first-hand look at what our championship is doing, our thriving championship is doing. And it's been scuppered. Such a shame. But Mr. Ciesla is nothing if not determined. So fingers crossed that we, in the not too distant future, go back to Japan, because it provides something quite different in terms of the spectacle, in terms of the whole atmosphere, and the whole thing in Japan is different and is worth, for sure, the effort of getting there. So yeah, the calendar I think looks good, apart from the omission of Japan. So there we are, folks. My kitchen table again, brought to you by my mug and my tea. English breakfast tea, my favourite at lunchtime. Work that one out. Folks, again, listen, I have to say, thank you very, very much for all of your likes on Facebook and your subscribes on YouTube. If you could do the same again, like and share on Facebook, love you forever. Subscribe and like on YouTube, fantastic, helps me tremendously with my kitchen table. Now, I do have some more news to tell you, but this has been quite a long ramble, slightly all over the place, and I apologise for that. Hopefully you can work it all out, folks. Again, like and share on Facebook, subscribe and like on YouTube, and we will speak to you all again, hopefully very, very soon indeed.